To understand our world, we must look through the lens of why.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're launching a hard-hitting investigation into a crime scene that you literally walk through every single day. Just look around. We're living in this hyper-connected, hyper-optimized world. Yet, everywhere you turn, there's this exhausting, endless loop. It's like a digital and corporate treadmill that just demands absolutely everything from you while seemingly giving nothing back. You wake up, you scroll, you perform at work, you consume, you sleep, and then you do it all over again. So today, we're pulling back the curtain on this modern condition to figure out exactly who or what stole our autonomy.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the very first thing we need to ask is, why are you pushing the boulder? And you know exactly the feeling I'm talking about, the sheer repetitive exhaustion of finally clearing out your inbox, only for it to immediately fill up again. The endless doom scrolling that leads absolutely nowhere. The forced smiles in that Monday morning strategy meeting. Well, the ancient Greeks actually had a myth for this. Sisyphus. He was a guy condemned by the gods to push this massive boulder up a mountain for all eternity, only to watch it roll right back down the moment he reached the very top. Now, for a long time, we viewed Sisyphus as just this tragic figure from a dusty myth. But today you are Sisyphus. And to understand exactly how we all got trapped on this mountain, we need to take a look at the evidence around us.
And the symptoms are everywhere. We're currently living in what researchers and analysts are actually calling the age of polycrisis. And it's an epidemic that goes way beyond just one single issue. It functions as this massive compounding weight. Gen Z and millennials are out here grappling with deep existential climate anxiety plus pervasive job precarity. And at the exact same time, they're navigating an algorithmic loneliness that somehow isolates us more the more we connect, ultimately resulting in intense digital fatigue. This right here, this is the crime scene of our stolen autonomy. We are doing all the right things, right? We're building our personal brands, we're hustling, we're staying informed, but the prevailing feeling is just one of profound dread and burnout. So to crack this case, we're going to need a very specific investigative tool.
That tool is absurdism. Now, don't let the word intimidate you. Absurdism isn't about everything just being a big joke. It's actually the philosophical theory that life lacks inherent meaning or some pre-packaged higher purpose. The absurd part, that's the friction. It's the irreconcilable conflict between our desperate, burning human desire for meaning and a chaotic, totally indifferent universe that just absolutely refuses to give us any answers. It's like the ultimate cold shoulder. And right now, in 2026, this philosophy is experiencing a massive revival because it perfectly, flawlessly diagnoses our modern exhaustion.
To really ground this investigation, we have to look at the godfather of the movement, the French-Algerian philosopher Albert Camus. Back in his 1942 essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, he wrote this absolutely brilliant line. The absurd is born of this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world. Just think about that for a second. You are desperately seeking a why for your daily grind, and the world is just eerily, unreasonably silent in response. In 2026, that silence isn't just some high-level philosophical concept. It genuinely feels like a daily weather report. So, if the world is completely silent, who exactly is making all this noise? Well, let's bring in our first suspect.
Suspect number 1, condemned to endless scrolling. Because if you really want to find the modern boulder, honestly, look no further than the device sitting right in your pocket.
Sisyphus's hill is the social media feed. According to research on the viral image and digital culture, these platforms have literally engineered a custom loneliness, just to generate the activity that their entire economic models are based on. By preying directly on our core psychological drives, these networks trap us in a sort of digital underworld. The feed is infinite. You can scroll for hours, you hit the bottom of one rabbit hole, and boom, the algorithm just refreshes. The boulder rolls right back down. You're locked in a machine designed entirely for producing the endless repetition of the exact same thing.
Let's actually break down exactly how this trap operates, step by step. Step 1. Algorithmic curation directly targets your deepest psychological drives and anxieties. Step 2. To somehow cope and survive in this space, we create these flawless, highly curated online personas, avatars that aren't even really us. Step 3, we embark on this endless, totally Sisyphean quest for empty validation, chasing the likes, the retweets, the views. And finally, step 4, we end up experiencing amplified isolation and a profound detachment from reality. We basically become alienated from our true selves because we're just so busy maintaining a virtual identity that ultimately means absolutely nothing. So that's suspect 1, but our investigation leads us to an even more insidious accomplice.
Suspect number 2, the trap of corporate culture. Because it's not just our digital lives demanding pointless repetition anymore. It's our professional lives literally demanding our very souls.
Welcome to what critics are now calling the new managerial mysticism. This is where the workplace basically becomes a theology without God. Our sources cite some incredibly absurd but very real-world examples. We're talking major hospitals trying to fix plummeting staff morale with a brand refresh instead of, actual structural changes. We see job postings for things like community impact coordinators at tech startups, demanding that applicants bring their whole self to work, love loudly, and co-create radical belonging. I mean, one actual listing required moderating a Slack channel called #PurposePorn and explicitly stated the applicant must be comfortable crying in meetings. The modern worker isn't just being asked to do a job anymore, they are being demanded to internalize corporate core values and perform an identity for the brand.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the incredibly sharp contrast we see here. On the left, we have the toxic positivity of modern corporate culture. It demands that you not only push the boulder, but that you actually fall in love with the boulder. You have to pretend it's your ultimate salvation. But then, on the right, we have Camus' absurdist rebellion. Camus argues the true lucidity, true freedom, actually comes from refusing to lie to yourself. It's acknowledging that, yes, the boulder is meaningless, but choosing to push it anyway, out of sheer, unadulterated defiance. And this exact realization, it's precisely what is fueling a massive cultural shift right now.
Which brings us to the next stage of our investigation. The twist. Camus and the meme resurgence. Young people are actively fighting back by weaponizing the philosophies of dead European authors.
Think about this. A man who died in a car crash back in 1960 with an unused train ticket still in his coat pocket is now somehow one of the most quoted thinkers on the entire internet. And we can actually quantify this movement. This isn't just some abstract academic trend. Accounts like Cheerful Nihilism boast over 277,000 followers. The hashtag nihilism generates hundreds of thousands of posts. The appetite for absurdist thought is a viral, quantifiable reality. A whole generation raised on the internet has basically decided that an absurdist philosopher born in colonial Algeria understands them better than almost anyone currently alive. Wild, right?
And this rebellion is taking shape in the native language of the internet, memes. These images, like the neo-Dadaist characters you see here, they act as an incessant internet carnival. The sources show us how ordinary people are using extreme, nonsensical, and totally absurdist humor to cope with anime, which is essentially a sense of normlessness. It's this overwhelming visual language that allows the youth to look at the utter meaninglessness of their socioeconomic conditions and just laugh. It is literally laughter for laughter's sake, serving as a survival mechanism against the machine.
But it doesn't stop at the screen. This digital meme culture is bleeding directly into real-world labor movements. Just take the whole phenomenon of quiet quitting. This is a distinctly modern Sisyphean revolt. Think about it. If the corporate ladder is an illusion, if the promotions don't actually matter or provide the security they promise, then why even play the game? Quiet quitting is the worker simply refusing to love the boulder. It's doing exactly what is required, nothing more, nothing less, and reclaiming your soul from the employer. It's the realization that your personal identity should absolutely not be a commodity traded in the marketplace.
So, we've identified the suspects, and we've seen the rebellion. But how do we actually escape the loop? Well, that brings us to our final step, the resolution, embracing optimistic nihilism.
Also known as New Nihilism, this is the absolutely crucial paradigm shift. Optimistic nihilism is the realization that a meaningless world isn't a reason to just give up. It's actually a blank canvas. It's a launch pad for alternative forms of purpose. If the universe doesn't have a grand, pre-written script for you, well, that means you are entirely free to write your own. You can find happiness completely free of societal pressures. You really don't have to hit those traditional markers of success to be worthy. You can embrace the pleasure of pointlessness, all while still deeply caring about your community, embracing kindness, and demanding a better, more equitable world.
And this brilliantly illustrates the final, radical conclusion of Albert Camus. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. But why? Well, because Sisyphus is conscious. He knows his fate. He knows the rock will roll right back down. But he walks back down that hill to push it again anyway. His dignity, his humanity, and his ultimate freedom are found entirely in the acceptance of the struggle itself. He doesn't need false hope. The very act of pushing back against the absurdity of the universe is enough to fill a human heart.
Camus leaves us with this truly breathtaking thought. I discovered in the dead of winter that I had an unbeatable summer inside of me. Even in the darkest, most exhausting, algorithmic corporate corners of 2026, you possess an internal sovereignty that no platform, no toxic manager, and no indifferent universe can ever touch. The power to create your own vibrant meaning lives entirely within you.
So we're going to close our investigation with this. You are going to wake up tomorrow. The algorithm.
Why settle for shallow facts? Join the intellectual rebellion. Subscribe to Y Lens now.